Hello from the Campus to Canton headquarters. I'm Alfred, bringing you updates and recaps from the spring games of today. First, go back and check the Boston College and Liberty recap. Then I also did a Purdue and Cincinnati, and this will be Kentucky and NC State, two Power 5 teams with some sneaky good offenses that can help you on the college side and maybe some NFL potential as well. Let's start with Kentucky. One thing I was really interested in seeing how Tavian Robinson was going to be used after coming over from Virginia Tech. And all spring, he's been kind of the focal point of the offense. And of course, that transitioned over into the spring game today. He got a lot of looks. I don't think he scored a touchdown, but most people were talking about a shorter pass that he took and got some yards after the catch, turned a short gain into 25-yarder. And I think that's his game. He's going to be very dynamic. I really think he comes in to fill that role from Wan'Dale Robinson right away, and I think that's an incredible role. We know Wan'Dale Robinson was a very interesting and dynamic player at Nebraska. Didn't really put up a whole lot of raw stats, and came in last year and had over 1,400 yards. I think 7 or 8 touchdowns as well in a breakout season, and now going on to the NFL draft. I think Tavian Robinson can fill that role, and I don't see why he can't produce at a similar level. He's a dynamic playmaker. He has been an incredible from a metric standpoint at his time at Virginia Tech. Now, his raw stats have been bad because their offense has been bad, especially on the passing side under Justin Fuente and whatever garbage they were running. But he technically broke out as a freshman from a receiving market share perspective, also from a receiving yards per team pass attempt perspective. He hit the threshold in both metrics for his true freshman year. He then also progressed as a sophomore before taking a step back as a junior last year. But like I said, the offenses, everything at Va-Tech has just been absolutely atrocious. He's also been used as a running back, taking carries, over double-digit carries in multiple seasons, also as a punt returner from the day he stepped on campus. This is a dynamic talent. I think he's an excellent yards after the catch guy. I think he's an excellent agile player, and he's going to be used in that Wan'Dale Robinson role, which we know last year was incredibly productive on the college fantasy side. I really think he's going to be a nice pickup in startups. I think he's rostered in leagues that are existing, but maybe you could pick him up now before he explodes. I think we are looking at a guy, 1,000 yards is not out of the question. That's not going to get you very far on the college fantasy side, but Wan'Dale Robinson had 1,400 yards. I think even 1,200 yards. This offense is going to be good again. Kentucky is a legitimate team in the SEC this year. Will Levis coming back, and I think it's going to be a productive role for Robinson again. So Tavian Robinson, that is, not Wanda. We got to say first name here, I guess. Love that pick. He's confirmed everything I thought might happen in terms of his use and his role. So wheels up, Tavian Robinson. Christopher Rodriguez caught a touchdown pass. Now, it wasn't super impressive. He had a chip block on a rusher, kind of floated out into the flat, caught a ball, and then ran into the end zone, bullied his way, which is what he does. He had 13 receptions last year after 2 in the previous 2 seasons combined. If he can kind of chip away and increase his passing game role, he could actually – he had 1,400 yards total last year with like 13 touchdowns. It was really good for Kentucky. But if he could add a more established passing game role, he'll be good for college fantasy, of course. But then, this is a guy that could then work his way up draft boards in the NFL as a big guy. I think he's 220 pounds or so. And, really thick, good running. And primarily, he is a good runner. But if he could catch 20, 25, 30 passes this year, really add that to his game, you could look at a day 2 draft pick kind of coming out of nowhere. Was probably a pick up in leagues last year and in startups. Again, I don't think he's going to be going too terribly high. Check the ADP over at campus2canton.com, but I bet you he's a value wherever he's going. And if he can add, like I said, adding the pass game work would he's already going to be good for college, but that would make the NFL, where receiving, in my opinion, is even more important to be fantasy relevant. That could really be a huge deal for him. True freshman making some waves for Kentucky. Dane Keys, a receiver that I'll be honest, I was not super impressed with. When I looked at him, he didn't really pop for me as a prospect. but he's already getting on the field and running with the ones. He caught a touchdown from Levis today. The play itself wasn't that impressive. He bobbled it kind of and then scooted into the end zone because he was wide open over the middle. But just the fact he's getting on the field, running with the first team with Levis as a quarterback says something for a true freshman to do that. So keep an eye on Dane Keys, a big guy like 6'3", but 185 or so. I think I saw some clippings that said he was, he's that deep threat that they've been looking for. So if he's kind of a taller, maybe a low volume deep threat on the outside, then that means Tavian Robinson can patrol the middle. Their offense could just start being more complete. They haven't had multiple threats at multiple levels. That could change this year. And then you've got Chris Rodriguez in the backfield. I think this is going to be a legitimate offense this year. And then in the end, a guy I've kind of like, Michael Drennan. He had two TDs lined up in the backfield. He was kind of a hybrid utility athlete guy as a prospect. And then, he's a guy who can line up as a running back, but he can catch passes. There was a receiver kind of in high school. So he's an interesting prospect entering his third year, has not done much. Probably sits again behind Chris Rodriguez, but a guy to keep an eye on. He had 2 touchdowns today. I like to see that, but running with the 2s, nothing too remarkable there. Switching gears, going over to NC State. We know their quarterback is going to be Devin Leary. He looked great today. Shoot for like 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in like a half. Threw touchdowns to Thayer Thomas, Porter Rooks, Anthony Smith were his targets. Just really good. I think he's a sleeper NFL riser. He looks like he throws a really pretty ball. Not at all a dual threat, had negative 75 rushing yards last year. So, for me, I'm not going to like that in a quarterback, no matter how pretty the ball is coming out of your hand. Just that's me. But, on college side, he had like 3,700 yards last year as a passer, 35 touchdowns, if I remember correctly. So a legitimate player in the college side, going to do that again, I'm sure. For NFL prospects, I value that rushing so much that I probably just wouldn't be that interested in him for an NFL potential. But I do think he'll rise up draft boards, and if you take him now, you probably flip him later. Then we have Jordan Houston. He played and looked good. He's a running back. I think he's sub 200, so it's going to be tough to project him as a feature back at the next level. But he did play as a true freshman. He was pretty productive. He caught some passes as a true freshman, and he's looking like the lead running back now. He scored the first TD of the game. I think this offense is going to be good again. You look for offenses with good quarterbacks. They're going to move the ball. They're in and the ACC, not terribly known for their defense. So I think Jordan Houston is good. Like, we're talking last round C2C pick probably. Maybe he'll start getting some attention now that he scored a touchdown, and people love touchdowns, so he'll get some talk after this spring game. But he is definitely a guy I'll be targeting at the second half of these C2C drafts. Probably a guy you could pick up in your supplemental drafts. I think he is probably unrostered. So I like that. If he's going to be their number one running back on a good offense, and he showed it today that he's number one on the depth chart, I think definitely a name to store away. Jordan Houston for NC State. And finally, Michael Allen got a touchdown. He's a true freshman. You just like to see him on the field, but he got like the last score of the game. Nothing too important there. And a guy I like from last year, Julian Gray, went 3 for 53 and 1 touchdown towards the end of the game. Not terribly impressive, but he was a 3-star I liked, very fast guy. And that's it for Campus to Canton. Today, we'll keep looking at some spring games, and follow us. That's my son peeking in at the end here. And stick with us. Check out campus2canton.com if you haven't already.